Yo, hey, bad cop. It's an honor to have you in my chat. Happy Friday, y'all. Bad cop who's returned from a successful speaking engagement in Boston. I think you had the most popular talk of like the whole of GodotCon. Can't wait to see your streaming tech. Hopefully I actually get to see it on stream at some point. All right. Well, that's not much of an intro to what we're doing today, but hey, Stubenhocker. How's it going? How's your week been? All right, I'm tired, so we're sitting down. This is a sit-in stream. So calibrate your expectations to low. All right. Come on, Pretzel. Play the next song, please. There we go. All right. So what we want to do here, we were splitting up our block collections between like preview blocks, like blocks that are only suggestions of what may be future possibilities, versus settled blocks, which are blocks that have actually been committed. Right now we're mixing them all together, which is causing us some problems. Stubenhocker, you're doing some brain melting, sorting code stuff. Ooh, that does not sound fun. But good luck. I'm sure you've got this. Oh yeah, I forgot to put the go live notification on Discord. Let me do that real quick here. Don't mind me. All right. Live stream notification posted. All right, let's go. I was messing around yesterday. I spotted something. Wait, is that your game? If you mean by this is a picture of what I would like the game to maybe look like. And this is art I made, so, you know, we could get there. We just, we have a lot of content. We have a lot of content that we need to do. I think before we can start approaching this, we need a few more tools. Looks nice. Thank you. It is my best programmer art I've ever done. And I cheated. I took this into Photoshop. There's some like bloom and I added bloom and noise and stuff, so we'll see. But yeah, this is at least the aesthetic we're going for, the like very like classic Star Trek color choices, very broad. Not too industrial looking, we'll see. All very flat at the moment. Not much in the way of textures, which works out because we're kind of outlining everything. Use your noise shader? I well might. I am not an expert on shaders. And by expert, my only shader I've made in Godot so far is like an outline shader. Hey, Matthew Sparks, happy Friday. All right, so our main thing is to work on this refactor, this big refactor for the block layers. I did spot something weird, which is like a UI code issue. So like, I don't even think I need to draw anything for this. But like, if we're just doing stuff or whatever, we can just click the clipboard. It doesn't do anything because there isn't anything in the clipboard. But we're able to just click the clipboard, which doesn't seem like we should be able to do when it's disabled. So I don't love this song. Thumbs down. Bad cop, shaders are actually easy peasy if you just spend a few months or years confused first. Yeah, I feel like I'm midway through that process, and what I haven't really done, I haven't committed the time it takes. Like, I haven't really leaned into the confusion as much as I should. I've probably done more compute shaders than, like, regular shaders. I feel like I have an easier time with the compute shader. Matthew Sparks. Homegirl was singing off key in that song there. Yeah, I don't like that kind of weird. Pretzel is weird about what it considers to be instrumental, because I'm supposed to only get instrumental on this radio. But sometimes there'll just be whole vocal samples of just like, you know, whatever, Brian May talking about science or something. Whatever people put in songs nowadays. And they'll be like, this is instrumental because it's a sample. And it's like, I don't know. Bad cop, you've done no compute shaders? Oh, man. There's a brave new world there of, I might actually need to do some compute shaders for this game. I have like a flood fill algorithm that I run. And one possible direction for like getting it to run quickly would be to like do jump flood, which would be best done on the GPU. So we might actually get into that for this project at some point. But yeah, when I did a lot of compute shading in Unity when I had like a scriptable render pipeline, and I was doing my last attempt at making like a voxel style game. I did that a lot. I don't know if I ever truly moved beyond the confused phase, but it worked. All right, so do I maybe not understand how texture buttons work? Matthew Sparks, instrumental, quote unquote, has a 154-second sample of Alan Watts discussing the very existence of life. Yeah, exactly. That is what I'm having to deal with here. All right, so clipboard. Is there something wrong with your configuration? On, mouse left. You're disabled to start. You're not disabled to start. So yeah, I feel like I think the focused, I think you can enter the focus state even when the texture button is in the disabled state. Which is weird. Unless I'm doing something strange in the code, which is very possible. Because we are using the code to, like, talk to this UI here. We might be instructing it to grab focus, even if it's disabled. That's probably what we're doing, so let's double check that. It's a very trivial thing, but let's start with something easy before we dig into something harder. How's the trip home, bad cop? Practical hopped into my chat yesterday and was like, I was like, oh, hey, Practical, what are you doing? And he's like walking the PAX floor. And I'm like, what are you doing in Twitch chat? Get out of my Twitch chat. I don't want to hear it. I'm jealous. I'm too jealous. I wish I could have stuck around in Boston for the rest of the week. and done packs as well, and the rest of the Boston game dev week stuff. Maybe next year. Maybe next year I'll just pile up all my money and just light it on fire and be like, I'm gonna spend a whole week in Boston. One can dream. All right, so I think this select. So where are we doing this would be my question. Yeah, I actually think this is what's happening. I actually don't think we're calling into the code. At least not from GDScript. Or from C#. What's happening here? On pressed, input handler dot block pressed, block form, block face. Does this have to do with the way that we've set up the palette button group? I'm just gonna look this up. Godot. Texture button. Grab focus on a disabled texture button. To prevent a disabled texture button from gaining focus in Godot, you should set its focus mode to none when it's disabled. This will ensure it's not part of the keyboard navigation or focus traversal tree. Okay. All right, where's this focus? Where is this? Focus mode. Focus mode, all. None. Well, I'm gonna have to change this, but that's fine. Oh, well, I don't want to do that on a door. I wanted to do that to the clipboard specifically. None. I also wanted to reorder these, I think. I think I want to have the clipboard first. All right, so all we need to do then is change. So mode none, mode click. So we need to change this during a particular moment here. It would be on the copy or cut. So this copied to clipboard function. So palette call copied to clipboard. So when we do the copied to clipboard, what we need to do is we need to say disabled is false. Then we need to say clipboard dot focus mode equals focus dot all. Then we can grab focus and mark the button pressed as true. All right. That should fix this one little problem here. Okay, yeah, now we can't focus it. We literally can't click the clipboard. Maybe I don't like having that be first. Maybe I liked that better at the end. It forms a nice, like, yeah, this is a little nicer. It's just a little weird, a little awkward. I feel like at one point, eventually we'll have multiple clipboards. So like every time you copy something, it'll either replace the clipboard or maybe you can add stuff to it. I don't know. We could also have like a tooltip thing that shows what it actually looks like if you hover over the clipboard. It'd be kind of cool. It'd be a little weird to do. It would need to be like basically a render texture, or like a sub viewport or something that we're showing, but it'd be doable. Okay, so now if I do this and it doesn't matter, let's just grab a piece, copy it. Okay, now it's focused, and now if I go somewhere else, now I can go back. Okay. Cool. All right. trivial UI controller thing fixed. All right. We racked up our easy early win here. Let's go into the hard. Let's go into the difficult part that we're going to struggle with probably for most of today, which is to split our block buffers into two. All right, so we have the previewed blocks buffer now. We have the settled blocks buffer. All right, so I guess I want to actually start with the rendering first and then do the tooling. So if I do the tooling first, it's just going to make everything really confusing if we can't actually see what we're doing. So ignore the fill system. Just focus on the tile system here for now. All right, so instead of update tile map data entirely, it's going to be like multiple passes. Target node will stay the same. So maybe we're just... No, because we're mixing stuff together here. Hey, JD does dev. How's it going? Look who finally woke up. Did you get back? Did you do the long drive back and like just pass out for some number of days? Welcome back. I too have been tired. All right, so do we rewrite this just for safety? I kind of want to split this up a little bit more anyway into like distinct phases, because we might actually not need... We might only need to be able to think of the split buffer during the initial phase when we're determining the hull types. And then once we've determined the hull types, I don't think we actually need to be aware of the fact that we're using multiple block buffers, because I don't think we're referencing them. Let me actually see if that's true. That might not actually be true. Okay, the door is referencing the block buffer, the door layer thing. You got back last night? Pretty peaceful drive. Nice. Yeah, I'm ready for the weekend. There was a lot of work waiting for me yesterday, and I am tired. But that was so awesome. I was just saying next year, if this all happens again in the same order, you're playing catch up as well. Yeah, that is the way. If all of this, if this Boston Game Dev Week thing confluence occurs again, where like we got GodotCon and PAX East and whatever else all happening, I'm just gonna gather together my money and light it on fire and just do it. I'd just do the whole week. Because that would have been so cool. I've never been to a PAX. And I don't know if I would have had the energy for it. Signs are pointing to no. Will I be able to stay awake past 7:30? That's the thing. That's the thing. That's the trick. I can stay up late. I just can't socialize. Has to be on a certain point. So like the night of karaoke, I was up until like 2 a.m. or something like that. But I spent a lot of it just like on my Steam Deck playing like Crashlands 2. I just needed to like zone out. That's definitely my issue is the social battery. That's like the limit that I hit first. All right. So unfortunately, I wrote the door logic in such a way that it does ask for the block buffer, which is not great. There's maybe a way around that. I feel like there must be a way around that. If we can figure that out, then we can split this up like I'm suggesting, where like we just don't care about the split buff, the two buffers beyond a certain point. I would like this second pass when we're building up the actual tiles. I would like this to not need to refer to the block buffers. But the trick is going to be making that a reality. You get that? Yeah. It was cool though. That was definitely a different vibe from any other game dev conference I've ever been to. Like which is to say GDC. Having it just be Godot, like Godot devs in this small environment, it was very cool. And because it was Godot, I think there was just there was very little focus on like AAA. There was very little focus on like publishers or commercial stuff. It was really nice to just have an event that was just focused around the engine and the people working in the engine. Super cool. Would do it again. All right, so what we're using this for, as far as I can tell, oh, we're waiting to determine the door division information. Because the hull is not part of the door thing. But we could just do that earlier. If all we're determining here is what kind, like which part of the door it is, like the upper, the middle, or the lower. Because the biggest door that we support is like a 3 tri-door, the 3-piece door. We could just do this part earlier. I don't actually know why we're doing this here. Okay. Yeah, if we can refactor for that, this is fine. We can do this. We can do this where we use multiple block buffers to collapse down into one. Basically, we're like merging different layers together. Not layers, but, you know. We're separating out the preview blocks from the more permanent committed blocks. Preview blocks are things that are like, the auto tiler needs to know about them because it needs to auto tile for them, but they haven't been technically committed to anything yet. So we're going to call this something like... I don't know, like determine hull types. Do I need to know the target node for this function? No, I don't. That's way later. So all we should need to put in here is the block buffer. I don't even really want to put in the span, but I guess I could. No, I don't want to. I don't want to do it. Should this be more like get read only? I don't care. Who cares? All right, so we're gonna split out this initial pass, which is the hull pass. Hull, H-U-L-L. Actually, maybe we do take the span. I want to add some more utility functions to make some of this stuff less awkward. So as we refactor this, maybe it becomes clear what kind of what we want to do. All right, maybe we do take the read-only span. Lock RO span. I kind of wish I just had GD script syntax, not syntax, but GD script style. I wish I just did this block, like, I don't know, RO span. I like snake case. I guess the thing is, what I'm saying is I like snake case, but I feel obligated to generally use the style guide of whatever language I'm working in. So we don't generally use snake case outside of GD script, or at least not in C#. I feel obliged to do like the C# thing. Instead of calling this determine hull types, maybe it's something like read. Maybe it's something like read block buffers. I don't know. Read block buffers doesn't really tell us what we're doing, though. We're doing more than just determining the hull type. We're also grabbing the door data, not just the hull data. Derive hull data. I don't know. I like derive hull types. Yeah, let's just do the doors in a separate pass. Who cares? Why, right? This buffer, this block, this bounds thing. This bounds thing is useful, but I'm not sure we want to do it here. All right, let's just start. Let's just work our way through like this. Let's grab this part, because this part is what we're going to primarily be doing at this phase. So we'll go up until the door. And if we spot a door, we're going to treat the door differently. The door has a hull, doesn't it? Like it has a hull type? A door? Because they're either inside or outside, aren't they? Hull, hulls. Okay, yeah, so we actually do want some of this. And then I guess the question is, do we continue to just loop through like this so many different ways? I think the answer is yes. Just not worry about doing all these loops, these iterations. Just to continue to keep the code modular. Not modular in the correct sense of the word, just like easier for me to tell. All right, so we need the start and end. We do need to determine that. These here. Oops, I skipped part of this. Like, it's kind of embarrassing. Quite how many layers we're doing. But I think we just kind of accept it. All right, read-only span doesn't work, isn't. This is pretty much all the errors. Yeah, okay. Oh, why did I call this a read-only memory? It's a read-only span. All right, we're breaking this up into more discrete phases, which I think is nice. Some of the door stuff we're going to break up even further. And again, we're just going to eat the iteration costs. Because most of this is fine, and I actually think a lot of this doesn't need to be... Like, we could, in the future, once we're out of edit mode and we're into play mode, we could, like, store a lot of this. We probably won't, though. We'll probably still mostly just calculate it as needed. I'll have to look to see what the trade-off is. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through each layer. We're going to determine the hull types. And that's all we're doing here. Derive hull types. So let's go down to the door section, and let's rip out all the parts of the door section that don't matter. So all we need for this at this point is this part. Literally all we need right now.
All right, let's bring that beat back.
Door tile.form. Literally take this part out. I think it's just this. I think it's just this section, which is crazy. Oh, I guess we need to know what our axis is. Because we need to know which tile is in front of our door to know what the door is. Maybe it doesn't make sense to do this separately. Let's look at the axes. How we determine the axes thing. We could leave just that part in. That wouldn't be that bad. So we don't need this. We do need this. I guess we can make this simpler, huh? We just need to find the direction of the door. We can do this pretty simply. We also don't need any of this next X stuff. So if positive X form and negative X form is bulk, we know some things. Let's just record door axis as a thing. We don't need to record the door tile yet. We just need the door axis. All right, so the default value for this axis is null, which is good. That is not true for the other kind. So let's just rip all of this out and just only define the axis. Which is kind of silly. We're kind of just going to do the work again later. Yeah, I don't love this. Especially if we're going to just be checking this again. Maybe we go by layer types. Maybe we just say something like read. Maybe we just say something like just say something like get deck layers, and we just do those. I guess because the auto tiler only needs to iterate through certain layers, so I guess maybe splitting it up by layer would be acceptable. The holes.clear thing we would need to... deck layer all types. Maybe set? No, get. Yeah, it gets the wrong word. I like derive. So let's do it that way then. So let's just split it up. So there's not really anything that we're saving by doing it more on a more granular level than that. And then actually if we do it this way, we maybe could do less branching or less of multiple iterations. We could actually change the way this works a little bit. Not quite have so many layers that we're iterating through. So what if it's just like this? And then instead of this, we have something like... No, I like to do it this way. I think this is okay. How's everyone doing? It's Friday. Work week's pretty much over. Anything anyone's excited for? I'm excited to sleep without an alarm clock for a day or two. That's what I'm excited for. All right, I'm okay with doing it this way. It's a little silly. All right, now let's put, well, we need this part still. Maybe we call this something else. Maybe we call this something like derive environmental tiles. No. Is there a word for... Oh, excuse me 1 second. Is there a word to describe breaking up something into its different faces? Facilitate. No, that's not it. Oh, it's separating. Could also call it dividing, I guess. If we call this something like divide blocks into tiles. No, that's like the whole function though. It's like too big a thing for a function. Like derive all types. I wonder if other tiles will eventually want divisions. So right now, doors are the only things that have divisions. Maybe that's like information we'll eventually want. And like maybe we record... Okay, so the only reason we would record hulls but not tiles is because these hulls inform the tile stuff, but may not themselves become a tile because of the cutaway, because of how we're using the cutaways. So we want them to stay separate. So right now we just record hulls, and hulls are the inner, outer, middle stuff I described. And I guess it makes sense to record doors separately. What are we currently storing in the doors? We're literally storing the tiles. Oh, door.tile. A door is part of a hull. Look at this door. Door.tile. And a door tile consists of axes, the division, and the form. I don't know why I always think of refactors as like great opportunities to think about reorganization, but I could totally just not do that right now. I just feel like it's a good opportunity to take this very monolithic thing that we're doing and try to split it up. I'm just struggling with different ways to do that. The only reason I'm struggling is that we treat doors very differently than we treat floors and walls. And I'm deciding how much I want to split that up at the moment. Call it something like separate blocks into tiles. I do kind of despise our door logic, so maybe splitting that up would be nice. Be able to just do the doors a little differently, or at least have them separate so that we can do them differently. I guess that doesn't matter. We call this something like separate block forms. Separate tileable block forms. Tileable is not a word. Be auto-tiled. Separate tiled block forms. Divide tiled block forms. Doesn't totally describe what we're doing, but whatever. The only complication here is how we're trying to potentially mix block buffers together. That's like why we're doing it, why we're doing this refactor, is so that we can have separate block buffers that mix together to form one set of tile map data. And that lets us do some interesting things. You could even probably go the other way where you separate one block buffer into multiple sets of tile map data if you wanted to. That's not really what we're currently working on. But one could do that. Let's call this divide tiled block forms by whole, no, into, no. Derive environmental block forms. Separate block forms by layer and derive all type. There we go. That's a function name. Separate block forms by layer and derive hull types. That's what we're doing. Hey, developer Ezra. Screaming in here with the raid. How's it going? Let me fix all the horrible things that I just did. Welcome, raiders. Hey, Ezra. Ad jail. Yeah, you busted in here right during ads. Unfortunate. I'll wait a second. Let's get everyone back from the ads. You kind of sniped the ad timing. It was pretty good. Hey, Exo Drifter. How's it going? It was awesome meeting you. I know you were super busy showcasing your incredible game No Signal at GodotCon. But it was really great meeting you in People Space. Hey, Kyrovert. You're out of the jail. Thank you for serving your time. Your record will be expunged. It's going okay. You're working on your game right now. Actually, nice. Resolving the stuff people notice while playing. Yeah, I'm sure you have like a long list. I'm sure the kind of feedback you get when demoing at like to developers like that is very different than the feedback you get when you just are showcasing to, you know, normies, the playing public. How was the stream? How's the stream, Ezra? What were you working on today? It was something about dialogue. You said something in all caps, and I thought it was dialogue. But welcome, raiders. I'm Digital Iliad. We're working on kind of an isometric 3D, kind of FTL-like game. We're working on a particular thing that I want to change. We've been agonizing over how to make this change exactly. Exodrifter, no, the feedback was surprisingly similar. What was different was how people reacted to it or how many people understood the controls right away. That's interesting. Okay. Developers are people too, I guess. Yeah, you've been working on updating your dialogue plugin. Oh, nice, nice. You're mostly figuring out your old code. Yeah. You don't need to comment that code. You'll remember. Hey, my Corey. Welcome in. Exodrifter, the to-do list is not too long. Keeps getting shorter. That's great. That's great. So what we've been doing lately is, or what we're doing right now, is we're trying to... So we've got our little editor tool, and we can just draw stuff and like make a little room or whatever. And we've got two different kinds of blocks or block things that I consider. So we've got like what is committed versus what's in preview. That's a good way of, I think, describing the difference. So like as I'm building this stuff, blocks are getting committed. But like this block that follows my mouse cursor around, this is just in preview. This like doesn't exist per se. But because of the auto tiler, we need to put it in such a way that the auto tiler can understand it and mix it in with what we've got so that the outlining and stuff works. So right now this is all in one place, which usually works, but the problem is if I do something like copy it to Clipboard, and now I've got this thing, I've got this whole chunk here. Having this coexist all in one place is causing problems. So we need to go in and we basically need to separate out this stuff, which is just in preview, from the stuff that's actually been committed. So we're splitting a bunch of stuff that used to operate on a single buffer, and we're making it work with two buffers. Ezra, back when you said you're the only user, let's put all the code in a single top-level script. Can you have top-down minimap for the map? Maybe. Visualizing, it's definitely hard to visualize, especially once you start getting further and further and further. It definitely is a problem. So like as we get more and more vertical levels, it's kind of hard. I've tried having some kind of thing that kind of gives you an idea of the depth that you're currently working in, but yeah, I have not figured this out in a way that's totally satisfying as far as like where you are. I feel like a single top-down minimap would not be sufficient. I feel like if you were going to do it face by face, you would do all of them. You would need to do all the faces, like one for each side, but maybe there's something we can do. I've been trying to do, so I have this selection overlay that works now. And I'm thinking what I could do is we could use a selection overlay. Like we could have, like if you're way up above and you're like up here, maybe there's a projection, like a shadow down. So you can at least see when the height-wise you are, where height-wise you are when you're messing around with this stuff. We had a version of that. It's not in place. And then similarly, maybe there's like grids or something that could be projected out to the side. Like basically a crosshair, like a three-dimensional crosshair that lets you kind of know where you are in 3D space. I think something like that could be good. Because yeah, it is kind of disorienting to figure out what layer you're on right now. Yeah, the shadow, like a drop shadow kind of thing, I think would be good. And then we'll see about the sides. I think it's harder to figure out where you are up, down than side to side. It's cool to make pretty map though. It looks so satisfying. Yeah. No, I like the placement. Yeah, navigating it's hard. The cutaway system needs more work. I'm thinking about going back to a room-based instead of this fun like onion skin thing I'm doing, but have it more traditional where it's like if your mouse is in here, all the walls in this room are down, and then if you move over here, then the other one. Like I kind of like this incremental thing, but I don't think it's quite as good as just a traditional room-based cutaway system. And then part of the reason we need to have our separate buffers for the clipboard is we need the clipboard to like ignore the cutaway system, or the cutaway system needs to be aware of the clipboard and it needs to cut away differently if you have some big thing in the clipboard like this. Like this part of the ceiling should probably either be completely cut away so that you can see inside or not cut away at all. And then the cutaway here should probably be aware. Yeah, so we're splitting these layers up, this preview thing, the thing that follows the mouse around from the stuff that's already been drawn. So we can do a bunch more, so we can be aware of what's what and cut it away differently, treat it differently in the cutaway system. But yeah, that's kind of what we're working on right now. Thanks for the raid. You got to run. I get it. You started streaming pretty early today. I was browsing around earlier. Still on East Coast time. So yeah, I'm trying to take, so right now, we have this one mega function that handles the auto tiling. It's just called update tile map data entirely. We called it that because we had another version of this function that was update tile map data changes, and it only updated the changes. That didn't work so great, so we kind of abandoned it. But it's this whole like long, very long function. It's about 700 lines of code. So I'm thinking about, and this all operates on one buffer. So what we need to do is we need to make it so we can do this in multiple passes, where we like add a buffer to this tile map data, and then maybe we add another buffer, and they merge or consolidate in some way. That way we can combine the settled, what I'm calling the settled blocks that have been committed to the map versus stuff that's just being previewed, that's just being shown. So we need to work out some of the logic for that, for how to combine them and how to render them correctly. Massive. Yeah, for a single function, it feels bad. I think that's an okay process though, is to start with big monolithic things and then break it out as you understand it better. Like right now, part of the reason why it's massive is because it's unrolled. So we iterate through the block data for every single layer. So floors have 3 layers. There's a layer for like the X face, the Y face, and the Z face. And then we have other layers for the walls. So the walls do the same thing: X layer, Y layer, Z layer. And then there's another layer for the doors. So right now we've just unrolled that. And so we just iterate through once for each layer, just to keep the branching logic from being insane. Eventually we'll probably consolidate it down, but so honestly, I don't know how, but we've noticed some things. So we're trying to split out this initial part, which lays a lot of the groundwork, from the second part, which doesn't actually need to know about the buffers. So we figured out kind of where in this big 700 line code thing, we no longer need to be aware of the number of buffers that are contributing to it. It's about here. It's about during the second pass. It's probably after we do the cutaway. Ezra, you would have been too lazy to do what I've done. You would have opted for clearing out all the upper levels. Oh, we tried that. Putting a little arrow saying there's stuff up there. Thanks for the lurk, Exo. Yeah, we definitely tried that. I didn't like it because, yeah, it hides everything. So you just don't see the top of the ship. Like, you don't get to see all the beautiful things that all the painstaking art and design I've done. So at the moment, we've just got this kind of, I'm going to make a horrible cube, but just to show it off. So, like, we support a lot of virtual layers. So let's go to all, like, the full 8 or whatever. And then let's remove the layer at the top, I guess. And hollow out all the layers in between. So when you're looking in here, right now I'm kind of doing this aggressive cutaway that follows the mouse around. And I think it's okay, because it lets you see as much of the outside as possible. But yeah, I think it would be better if there's just a room. Like if your mouse is in a room, it just expands to show you the whole room. And maybe it expands a little further. I don't know. Maybe we can use both. So maybe it jumps to cover the whole room, and then you still get this kind of onion line, not onion, but you get this aggressive cutaway thing elsewhere. I don't know. I think we'll probably have a mixed solution for a bunch of different components, because we also have the clipboard to consider. So yeah, it's definitely, I would consider this the cursed problem of the game is how do you make this stuff visible? You almost feel like the top layer should cut away more instead of less. I've tried that too. I tried reversing the curve so that it kind of terraces out, but you don't really get anything for that because it's terraced in such a way that you can't really use the information. But yeah, we're going to try a few different things. I want to try the room one next, and we do have a flood fill algorithm, so we do know where the rooms are. So we could do it room by room. I just haven't implemented that yet, because for one thing, our flood fill algorithm is really slow. We need to speed it up a lot, and I don't know how we're going to do that. We are either going to... We're probably going to use something like jump flood, which I haven't used, but I've been told is very fast at this sort of thing. But it would involve me writing like a compute shader for this, which is fine because this is like, what, a 2D tile game? We probably have a lot of GPU headroom, right? Probably not going to really be using the GPU too much. So if we end up using it for something like jump flood or other compute shader stuff, I think that's fine. Theoretically, yeah. Yeah, I haven't... We'll see. We'll see how many, you know, what kind of post-processing we hit this stuff with, but... Character multi-level navigation when? Oh, yeah, there's going to be some stuff. There's going to be a lot of jumping around at one point because of teleporters and, like, notifications of, like, people doing things. It's... Like I said, I'm a little concerned that this is a cursed problem. That this kind of multi-level thing is just not really doable. But we'll see. Let's presume it's solvable until it isn't. Kind of want different music. Maybe this. Maybe this could be fun. Something a little more fun. Actually, maybe something a little upbeat is what we want. This is like 10% more upbeat than what we were listening to before. Lurk. Does this work? I mean, you're lurking. I don't have a lot of commands. I don't know what I should say when someone lurks. Like, okay, let me put you into the transporter buffer for storage. Something like that. But yeah, enjoy the lurk. Thanks for the raid. Go do what you need to do. And I hope you all have a great weekend. Raiders and everyone alike. I'm going to keep struggling with naming things and refactoring stuff for a while. That's kind of what we're doing today. What's giving me a holdup? What the holdup is for me is some of this door logic stuff. What we should actually probably do is rip the door logic down here that we need and add it. Because we have some additional... The only other places we're reading from the block buffer is down here. And we're using it to figure out the door divisions. And I don't know why we're doing that down here. That's not where we should be doing this. I'm not sure why. I guess we're seeing what kind of door we have, whether it's a single, a double, or a triple. And we're trying to figure out what our divisions are, but like we could just do that up here. Which means I kind of want to separate the door layer out into a separate function. I feel like I'd be more willing to collapse some of these iterations if we were separating out them by layer type. Like decks have a certain logic to them. Like, hold on. Does deck layer Z use the same logic as bulk layer Z? I don't think so. No, it doesn't. So yeah, maybe that's what we do. But how would we know? Yeah, maybe we split it up like that. Maybe that's the nice, because then we at least only iterate through certain layers, because certain layers are not going to be auto-tiled. Like, certain layers, not layers, but certain block forms correspond to environmental pieces, like the floors, the walls, the doors, stuff like that. And certain block forms correspond to inhabitants, like maybe a computer console or a crew member. And other block forms are like, I don't know, yet something else, like a selection, like a block that's selected is marked out. And that's how we're kind of describing the 3D space, is with these things called blocks. And the blocks are at the moment just bit flags. So at the moment, a block can have a floor or a wall or both, or a door or decoration to select. Yeah, I think that's how I want to do it. I want to do it by layer. So we would say something like this of like separate. Maybe we could call it like derive. We call it derive intermediate. I don't know if we want to say intermediate. It kind of is intermediate. Like we're the initial step here we're doing is we're deriving data that we need to create the tiles from the blocks. That's pretty much what we're doing here. So maybe we say something like that, like derive intermediate tile data from block. From blocks. Maybe storing this in one Hull's dictionary is like more than we need to do. Maybe we could reconsider how we're storing these. I don't think we should, but maybe we could. Because right now what we're doing at this end step is we have this massive switch statement based on tile layers. I guess we would still need to do that to some extent. Yeah, I guess we shouldn't do that. We basically have a vector 4 that describes the location of every tile in X, Y, Z, and W. W being the kind of tile it is. So not a spatial characteristic, really. And I guess we should consider to key that in. I guess there's no real advantage to do otherwise. Handling conflicts is maybe the thing that I'm not understanding quite how I'm going to do yet. Because what we do in the tool script is we merge blocks when they're being placed. So we need some kind of... So we'll merge blocks here. So like if we try to combine certain blocks, the one will override the other. And I guess when we're talking about overwriting the settled block with the... So I guess it just overwrites it. Maybe there is no merging that needs to occur. It just straight up overwrites it. Unless we want... No, I want it to overwrite. I think, in most cases. That's complicated. Maybe they're only like merging in some cases when they're incompatible. This is kind of hard. There's like a good reason why this is all normally occurring on one buffer, because there's things that will happen as a consequence of this. Of like let's say you preview. Let's say you have a block just hovering in a spot that makes the difference whether this room is sealed or not. Like you've got a like I guess I should give an example. So like this is not the best example because there's no ceiling here, but visually this is kind of what I'm describing. So here's a room. Let's pretend there's a ceiling above it. If I have this hole here, so if I make this hole here, this room is not sealed. But if I put this block here, like if I just hover and leave a block here, this room is now sealed, and the auto tiler should update to show that this room is being sealed. And that's easy to do when it's all on the same buffer. But if they're in separate buffers, that's a lot more complicated. I guess that's not that hard. We just need like a merge step. And we're only doing this during edit time, so I guess that's mostly fine. We would just need the flood fill system to do some kind of merging process, at least for its purpose. Because part of the reason why we don't want, part of the big reason why we want them to be separate is like if I'm just holding this and I rotate the camera, this whole thing moves now. Like not only does the thing we're building, but like the thing we're copying around also moves. And what I really want it to do is I want it to be static. Unless we specifically, so I either want just the stuff that we've committed to rotate, or I want just the thing in my clipboard to rotate. I don't want both of them to rotate. Because I either want to take my blocks and turn them so I can place them in a different orientation, or I want to move my camera so I can see the thing from a different angle. And that's a lot easier to do if they're separately stored. If they're not separately stored, it's borderline impossible to do that. Maybe we record all this tile data, and then the cutaway system... No. Yeah, I don't want to add additional information to the tile data that's not actually going to the tile map layer. So having these be separate is fine. So holes, doors, and tiles. Doors have their own special data that they're recording. Let's do it by layer. So the other thing we can do is we can say something like, we could say private void we could say record deck block derive deck layer data. I don't know. Derive deck layer hull types. We just call it like separate deck layers and record hull types. Record deck layer hull types. I'm gonna not worry too much about this anymore. We're gonna go layer by layer. I've decided that that's what we're gonna do. Oh, we don't want to pass in start and end. We calculate that. So we take this chunk, we take this section. Let's just take this part. It's a little silly that I'm doing this layer by layer, but I think that's good because I think eventually it's the same principle by which I'm separating these iterations But I think we could stop. We could probably stop doing that way. Like, let's try to do this. Let's try to do this differently. So let's say we want this part. So we want to loop through each Z. We want to loop through the block volume to determine each potential tile's hull type. And then what we want to do here block read-only span, I think is fine. And so what we're gonna do, so we go for, we iterate from start to end. And then what we're going to do is, instead of going through individual layers like this, the XYZ, we're going to treat XYZ the same, and we'll just calculate the neighbors. So what we can do, the easiest thing to do is to do this. So we just continue if it's not a deck. That's easy. Otherwise, we get into this. So this is the X stuff. So opposite position used more than once. Oh, it is. I want a helper function. I actually want to make a helper function for this. I don't know if I like block RO span better than just read-only span. Blocks read only. I don't know if we care about the read only or the we could just say like block span. I don't know if I care that it's read only. Yeah, I'm always doing this block buffer contains, like, this should just be a little helper function. It should be a get or default. Can we just add a get or default to the block buffer? So what if we have get or default? Public block get or default. I guess we can take a version. We can have a version that takes coords or an index. Let's start with the index. We can say contains, or actually what we could do is we could say what do we need to do with the AABB? Maybe we only take coordinates. I think it's probably easier if we just take coordinates. Vector 3i coords. Okay, and so we say contains coords. Hey, Beetle U, thank you for the follow. How's it going? All right, so contains. So if it does contain, then we return. Oh, this is why we don't do this. The reason why we don't do this is the span. We don't want to just keep getting the span. This is like one of the only somewhat expensive things. It's actually not terribly expensive, but it's like... I don't want to have to pass the span in, but I guess that's fine. It's cheaper than, you know, casting it. Because we don't want to, because we're going to be doing this all the time. We don't want to just be constantly pulling out the span. So that's unfortunate. So we probably need to include the span. The only thing is we don't know if the span... I guess we could have versions that work with both. We could have the read-only or the read-write. Annoying that you'll have to pass the span in. But I guess you have to pass the span either way, because this is the current version of this function. I'm good. I'm good, Beetle U. We're working through a little bit of a refactor. A little bit of a painful refactor here. But, it's alright. We're trying to do it in a non-destructive way, which is always the goal, you know. So if we don't finish it, we don't ruin everything. How are you doing? Happy Friday. Block buffer. So right now we're saying block buffer.contains. If it does contain, then we say we get it out of the block span. Otherwise, we just get back an empty block. And so we could have just block buffer.get or default. And then we just have to pass in the coords. The thing is, we just have to pass in the span, which is a little annoying. But that's better in the long run, I think. Maybe it's not. I just don't like this. I don't like... It would be nice to have a get or default. But honestly, it's not much better to do it the other way. Let's try it. Let's see how I like it. So instead of saying that, we would say this. We'd say block buffer dot get or default op position block span. I mean, it looks cleaner. Under the hood, it's not better. Actually, no. Okay, this is not a static function. Because we're dependent on the contains function here. You hope I'll get everything done soon. I appreciate that. It's unlikely, but it's an important refactor. I think I prefer just having it here. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get back to the more fun tasks. Yeah, this is an important thing we're enabling for the future. So we've got opposite position, opposite block. What we're going to do is we're going to change this. We're going to say this. We're going to call this X. I guess the only nice thing is we only need to pass in the coordinate once. So we can actually just say X block. We can actually say block, X block equals, and then we can pass this in here. Let's say X block equals this. That simplifies it because we don't actually need to hold on to the coordinates for any reason, really. What I should have is I should have a layer lookup. I should have like block. I should have some kind of layer lookup. I guess it's just an enum. So we have block.forms. We could have block.layer. We could have like a public enum layer. And it would be like dec x equals 0, y equals 1. Little annoying because this will have to be maintained. But I think I'd rather have something like this than... Alright, let's just say block. Let's just say enum. Let's say block dot layer. We need to add in all this stuff. Beetle, you're really bad at coding. You're trying to learn by watching. That's a good approach. I don't know if I'm the best. I'm the best example. I'm not great at coding either. I'm kind of a generalist because I'm a solo developer. I do a little bit of everything, which means I'm an expert at nothing. All right, having a block layer enum is good here because yeah, magic numbers are never good though. So instead, we're gonna say. So instead of saying instead of making a vector 4 out of the relative position plus 0, it's going to be the relative position plus block.layer.decx. Although we do need an implicit conversion. Can I just put that in here? I wish you could just easily convert a layer. Public implicit operator int hold on, let me remember how my public implicit operators work. Give me the components. Public static implicit operator vector 3i, position, Position out value. Okay, so I should be able to do something like public static implicit operator int block dot layer. You could just say layer. Just int layer. This work? No? Public static implicit operator vector 3i. I practice everything. Some more than others. I would love to be able to get back to art and sound. We've been in programming land for a long time on this project. We're working on tools mainly right now. We're working on some editor tools that will let us build these isometric 3D shipscapes. But I would love to get back to some more creative stuff. Oh, do I have to put this in the... I guess you can't make an operator for this. You just have to we're always just going to forever be explicitly converting this. That's fine. I thought that was something you could do. Looks awesome. Thank you. We're doing like an isometric 3D version of FTL faster than light. So we're doing this kind of crazy 3D world, but we have a very 2D presentation. So we're doing a lot of crazy stuff to make that happen. Beetle, you're more of an artist too. You want a code to make your art useful in a way. No, that's a great approach. Okay, so hull is op block. So op block, instead of that's x block, has block.forms.deck. Otherwise, xblock.isOutside, question mark. So if xblocks has the form deck, it's a middle hull. Otherwise, if xblock is outside, it's an outer hull. Otherwise, it's an inner hull. We don't even need to store a hull. We could just say this. Which is good, because I think ternary operators should be done like this. It's a lot more vertical space, but I think it's a lot easier to read when a ternary operator is done like that. The if-else stuff. If this, else, if this, then this, else that, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah? Alright, I'm done. I'm done making my blah, blah, blah jokes. Blah, blah, blah's law blog. Alright, so we got our relative position. We got our X block. And we do the same thing for the Y block. You can just copy this whole thing and just do the Y block. And then instead of getting vector3i.right, we get vector3i.up. So we want the positive Y block. So this is simpler than what I've got here, which is like we do a whole layer. And then we iterate through again and do a whole layer. We iterate through it again and we do a whole layer. And we do that for all of the layers. We're doing a little simpler this way. Deck layer Z is a little more complicated. This way we only loop once per layer type. So we're at least removing 3 of the loops. Or instead of looping 3 times, we're only looping once. So that's better. We're doing less conditional stuff like the block span has. So this is better. All is default. I don't love that. You should call this block span, not read-only span. All right, so this is... So if block span I has blockforms.door... Oh, we have like a crazy bunch of things going on here. Why do we care about the door type? Why does that matter? So if there's a door, we do this thing. We have this crazy complex thing. Otherwise, if there's a bulk, we do this thing. Otherwise, we do this thing. We always assign something to hull, right? So maybe we don't phrase it this way. Maybe we also use a ternary here. That's kind of ugly, but let me try to understand what we're doing for a second. So if we have a door, we're asking if the block buffer encloses thing on the right. If it does, then we look at our opposite block. And if the opposite block has a floor piece, then the opposite block, or the opposite block is empty, then we do this. If we enclose the Y, oh, we're treating this hull differently because there's a door. Okay. I actually don't think we care if there's a door. I guess we care a little. All we really care about is whether there's a bulk. I understand why we're doing it this way. It's because normally if there's like a wall on top of our floor, we treat that as like a middle hull because it's basically an enclosed space. It's like, I call it entombed. Like it's flush against another surface, so there's nothing really to render. However, if it's a door, the door may open. So that's being treated differently. And if there is a door, then we're basically looking to see... We're looking to see about our neighboring decks. That's a little awkward because it requires information about other floor pieces. What if we went backwards from the ending to the beginning? That would probably have some cache invalidation issues. If we iterated through the span backwards. Yeah. Okay, so since we can't do that, we just do it this way. We're in ads right now, so we're chilling. I'm just thinking about our next step here. I feel like this is overwrought. I feel like we don't really care if there's a door above us. I mean, we do a little. The logic if there's a door above us is the same as the logic if there is no bulk. So I think all we need to do is check to see if there's a bulk. I think we can skip this door thing. I think we can treat the door exactly the same. For now, it may be such that eventually we have a different texture that we use for a floor tile underneath a door, depending on how we want to communicate the fact that there's a door there in the cutaway system. The doors might actually be immune to cutting away to an extent. Because that's information about doors is something you really pretty much always want to have. So we have to decide, but doors are also nodes. They're not actually in the tile map during runtime. Well, I guess they could be in the tile map and still be nodes. Crew members are not in the tile map because crew members move from tile to tile, but doors do not move from tile to tile. So I guess they can be in the tile map. If we can synchronize the animations well. All right, yeah, we're writing this way more simply. We're just gonna ask. So we're gonna go up here, up here, up here. So we don't need to redefine relative position. Instead, what we want to do is we want to say yeah, we don't need to do any of this. Why was I doing all of this? Super weird. Oh, and you change this to deck Y. This isn't a block layer, is it? This is a tile layer. Tile layer. Where do I include the tile layer? Tile layers. Ah. Alright, get rid of this. Delete. It's not block layer, it should be tile.layers.deckx. Tile layer should be a flag, huh? Oh no, it can't be. It cannot be a flag. All right, so what we're saying is we're saying hulls new vector 4i relative position. Yeah. So it's not that, it's so this. Oh, not vector 3i, vector 4i. So we make a new vector using the spatial position and the layer. We say it is block span I Should we just record a block? Would that just be easier? Do that to just say like block equals block span I. You could say block. So if block has block.forms.bulk, then it's hall.middle. Otherwise, it's yeah, block.isOutside. And then it's hall.outer or hall.inner. It's easy. All right, well, that's a lot better than what we had for some reason. A lot simpler. All right, well, that's efficient. So that's that for that one. Is there anything else we need to do? I don't like this weird, wispy, whatever you'd call this music. All right, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. I think that's a good pattern. I think we're in a good place to finish this tomorrow. We'll keep working on it a little bit. I think we can at least get this first step done. So we need the bulk layer equivalent. So I want to see this. I want to see this logic here. We're going to test out there a little autofill is doing good work here. Yeah, their little autofiller AI is not bad. Not bad. All right, so X data bulk X data is this. So let's drop this in and see how this works. So we need to know the opposite block already. We're asking about doors again. So if the opposite block is a door... Oh, we need to know, like, the axis of the door, then. No, that's not true. If our neighbor is a door, this is fine. Is it? Yeah, I have all this logic that considers the possibility that there are doors in place, and it's like totally extraneous. Like it's I don't understand. Totally extraneous. So we just take this X block thing that's basically the same here. Block buffer AABB, view absolute, block span, X block. Actually kind of question the wisdom of separating the decks and the bulks out here because the logic is actually like identical. I guess it's the continue logic here that matters. All right. So this is easy. Just need to alter it for this. This bulk. I wonder about the wisdom of recording the partition data, like whether a block is outside or not within the block itself. I guess that's good at runtime. At edit time, it's a little awkward, but probably fine. All right, and a bulk Z layer. Anything special about a bulk Z layer? I guess it checks the door above is what it does. Opposite block, opposite position, vector 3i dot forward. Yeah, okay. So up here, what we're going to write is block Z block equals block buffer get or default block buffer dot AABB dot view absolute relative position plus vector 3i dot forward block span. Spans are allocated on the stack, so that's not something I can just have sitting around. Yeah. I just don't like that I'm having to pass a span to the buffer that's the span of its own its own buffer. It's confusing that I'm having to do that, but it's because of how I'm marshalling it from bytes to type. It's this. There's an awkward way that I've implemented static buffers. Don't worry about it. Z block. So tile layers bulk Z. Does Z block have block.forms.dec? That's what we're asking. All right, this is like kind of reasonable what we've ended up with here. It's reduced a lot of the branching. There is a little bit of a difference in terms of the implementation, so it's fine that they're separated. Like, do you even reference your own block? Like, is this used more than once? No, it's not. Maybe we just forget about it. Block span I. I don't want to allocate a variable if it's literally just reading from the span at the index. It adds a nice little obvious indicator that we're referencing our own block rather than a neighboring block. I kind of like that. All right, doors. Let's do doors, and then I think we'll call it there for our refactor. And then we'll have done the initial phase, which is the only part that should know or need to know about the block buffer. Everything after this should be able to just use the whole data that we're deriving here. All right, so the door thing is the most, far and away the most complicated thing we have here. So let's grab it. And we also need to integrate. Yeah, this is actually going to be huge. If we can do this in the next like 10 minutes, that'll be pretty cool. Then we can at least move on to a different section tomorrow. Yeah, this door stuff is crazy. So we can rewrite this. So we can say negative x block equals block buffer dot get or default block buffer dot There we go. Yeah, that's a lot better. Do we not actually need the negative x? Yeah, we do. 3i dot left. Negative y block equals block buffer. Get or default. The 3i dot down. I don't like that forward is negative, but in Godot 3D, but I think that's consistent. I guess that's normal. It's not as maddening as the fact that down is up. down is the new up in Godot and 2D. That's like something that I always have to consciously think about. So having a similar issue with Z-axis stuff is not that bad. And I think it might be strictly correct. So negative Z is forward. Negative Z for us and our purpose is we're talking about Z indexes and it starts at 0. So the negative 1 would be the one above us. We start at 0 and we count down. So I guess we actually do the same thing. We do as Godot in 2D. We say the enemy's gate is down. Or no, I guess the enemy's gate is up. Man, I've been making that joke wrong this whole time. Embarrassing. Deeply embarrassing. I'm just using my new helper function to get these neighboring blocks instead of the old way we were doing it. We were just kind of doing it raw here. Okay, I don't love that this is called door tile. So door, public enum div, public enum form. Public read-only record struct tile. Door tile. I guess I kind of like that. I feel like maybe there's some other opportunities to do stuff like that. Mess around with this. But whatever, that's what we've got. We're not going to mess with it now. So we've got our door tile. So here's where all the fun stuff happens. So let's just go through and try to do this in the simplest way possible. I want to rewrite most of this because I feel like this is all very dumb, the way we've done this. We're using a lot of bitwise comparisons. So instead of that, we're saying get or contains, or get or default. Block span. Wait, this doesn't need to be a branch. This could just be block next x equals negative x block Why do I do it this way? So I check one side and then I just get the other side. Yeah, this is a little silly. Get rid of this whole mess. This feels weird, but okay. I guess this is how we tell whether we're a double door or a triple door. Going a little turnery crazy here. Is this all the same? I just need to change the... Can I just copy this and change some things? I think the answer is yes. Copy the body of this here. Save myself some time refactoring it. So instead of next X, we're talking about next Y. Talking about negative Y block. And that's down and up instead of left and right. And then instead of this, it's axes.x instead of Y. Negative Z block is being used. Are we even using the positive Z block for this purpose? I don't think so. An FTL-like? You love that game? Hey, Birdsong Technology. Welcome in. Yeah, let me fix the rest of these compiler errors. I can show you a little what we're kind of doing here. How's it going? Happy Friday. Yeah, we're doing kind of an isometric FTL-like. It's a lot cleaner than our previous implementation. I will say that. So we took FTL-like, or FTL, we're taking it. Let me get a stretch here. And we're doing a 3D chess kind of thing. So we've got this more side-on kind of isometric presentation, pseudo-isometric presentation. And so we're going to be layering things. So we'll have like, so right behind me is a picture of what maybe like a bridge would look like, sort of. And then so you might have a bridge, and then you might go down, and you might have like weapon systems, or like a reactor room, or engine room, or cargo hold. Like, so we're adding some verticality to it. You're doing well. You did some work earlier. You're relaxing, doing laundry. Nice. Laundry is next up on my list too. I actually got to go do that in a few minutes. It's typically how I end most of my streams. It's like, sorry guys, I got to go to the laundromat before I go back to work. Super cool. Layers inspired by Dwarf Fortress. I wouldn't say inspired by Dwarf Fortress. It's kind of just more in line with like how I think of like spaceships. Like, we're kind of taking chess, which is this perfect 2D game, aka FTL, Fast and Light, and we're kind of making 3D chess, like from Star Trek. Like, you get a picture of it. It's horrible. This is the analogy I always make for the game, is that we're making 3D chess. And part of the reason why I make this analogy is because 3D chess kind of sucks. It's kind of bad. It's like not... Oh, I like this picture. It's like not a good... It's not better than regular chess. So we're gonna see if it's interesting to be dealing with this ship like this, to have this 3D presentation of this otherwise perfect game. But you know, it might end up being terrible. Fair enough, no spaceships or flat planes. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of verticality. I actually was talking to someone about this, and they were like, are you going to favor verticality over the horizontal thing? Like, are you going to have a lot more? Like, are the ships going to be wider than they are tall? Which is kind of unusual, because most ship designs don't follow that, because most ship designs are like Navy kind of designs. How you feel about your game, it might end up being terrible. I think it's an important thing to have in the back of your head. So right now we support this pretty big area. So like here's like an area. So we could make this thing. We could go down here. Make a like a room. A couple of rooms probably would be what this is. Let's make a hallway. So we can make stuff. Put some doors in here. So we've been spending a lot of time on like an auto tiler sort of deal. We can do a lot of stuff with this. We can like rotate the camera. And so, I don't know. I'm kind of unclear to me, because we can just keep going down. So we've got this, and we could just go like, and we could just go down. Everything is very cubic right now, because I'm like literally gray boxing everything. So like, I don't know if it's going to be more vertical like this, or if it's going to be more horizontal. Because right now I support kind of a 64 by 64 by 8. But I thought about it, and I don't know if like moving the camera around horizontally like this is what you want. So we might actually exaggerate the verticality of it and reduce the emphasis on like horizontal things. Oh, that's a new graphical error. What's this? That's a new horrible thing that... What even is that? What is causing that? Is that caused by overlapping pixels? Kind of the only thing I can think of. literally never run into this before. Kind of curious. Oh, well. So, because I just can't think of a lot of examples of, like, vertical ships. So, like, starship designs, I don't know. Like, if you look at starships, they tend to be flat and wide. But there's some examples. Like, if you look at a Star Destroyer, like, that's flat, that's wide, it's a big boy. Right? But it's much wider and longer than it is vertical. But there's a few counter examples, but they're really limited, like a Minbari cruiser. Like a Minbari cruiser is this big, tall thing, right? But I, like, cannot think of a pretty much any other example. There's a good picture of a Minbari cruiser. These are all very low resolution, which is not surprising considering, you know, Babylon 5. So I think it would be, there's a world in which it would be cool to have these, like, mostly vertical ships and to minimize the camera movement. The other argument to be made would be, like, we should actually be focused on space stations. Like, we should actually be doing, like, Deep Space Nine. Like, that would be the cool thing to do, would be to do, like, Deep Space Nine. Because then you're, like, more vertical. I don't know. I need to finish this tool so we can actually try some of this stuff out and see what we like. But that's pretty much what we've been working on. All right, did we finish the door layer? We pretty much did. I don't like it. I think it's kind of crazy how we set up the door layer here. Oh, we don't even need the positive Z block. There's also, we also need to get that division information from down here. So this part. So negative X has block.forms.door, else if positive X has block.forms.door. We need to get the door divisions added. So we do this part where we figure out what kind of door we have. Figured out what kind of door we have, and then what we need to do. So we could figure out the hull part here. And we need to figure out the division. So we need to say, let's just get that division, that simple division logic. I guess we could do it in here because our doors are, we have multi-part doors. Problem is we set this. We have a number of places where we define whether a door might be a triple or a double door. So I guess we want to do it here in the, if the door is not invalid. Let's just do it in here because it's easier. So we can say if negative X block, or we can say door tile we can say door tile dot door dot form. So we could switch on the door dot form. We could say case door dot form dot double. We could say door tile dot div equals How long have I been a streamer? Only about a year. A little over a year. We started in February of last year. And this is pretty much all I work on stream. We do jams occasionally. But I'm pretty much always working on this. I work on this about Tuesday through Saturday, about 5 days a week. Around this time. Saturdays, maybe the time is a little different. Maybe we start later. Go later. All right, so if negative y has block.forms.door. Oh, we also need to switch on the door axes, don't we? So we switch on the door axes, and then we switch on the door form. So let's do that. Actually, I guess what we want to do is we want to say... We want to say if door tile dot axes and axes dot x evaluates to axes dot x. I hate that I need to like specify the order of operations here. Say else if, well, I guess if the door tile axis is an X or Y or whatever, we can say Y. I can actually check Y. Oh, we're already doing that here. Never mind. We're already doing that check. So if we're already doing that check, let's just take advantage of that. We can think about the structure of this function later. I don't love it, but we're already making some good gains. So let's take care of the whole stuff, and then let's switch on the division stuff. So let's say... Oh, we have the same streaming schedule. Oh. No. That's cool. I want to know. What kind of stuff do you stream? What do you work on? I hit you with that follow. Oh, you're making a game. What is this in? This looks like Unity. No judgment. But maybe consider not using Unity. No, thank you for the follow. You stream game development? You're making a squad-based 3D roguelike? You're in too deep? No, I feel that. Next project. Consider Godot. Or literally anything else. Let's say door tile equals... Let's say if... How do I determine the division? The door division. So what I'm doing way down here at the moment. So we say the axes are Y, we get the negative X and the positive X neighbor. Okay, so we can say if both of them have it. So we could say if both of them have it, and then otherwise we could ask. I guess I could stop doing these direct bitwise comparisons and I can just do this logical comparison. I guess I don't actually even need to know whether it's a double door or a single door. I mean, I went through the trouble of specifying, so I guess we could, but we kind of have to do either. So what we could say is we could say if door tile dot axes, or if we could say if door tile dot form is equal to triple door here. So we could just say this. We do the first check, we'll say something like door tile equals door tile with div. Actually, I guess what we do is we say negative X block so if the negative X, or we want the Y block dot has block dot forms dot door. If it does, we can ask if the negative X block has block dot forms dot door. If it does, then we make door tile dot, we say door tile with div equals door dot div dot middle. Otherwise, so if the negative X block, if the negative Y block, oops, positive Y block. Let me go double check this real quick here. Let me highlight the div. So you're doing a squad-based 3D roguelike. That's cool. Tell me more about that. So if it's negative Y, then we're upper. If it's positive Y, we're lower. Okay, that's good to know. What did I say? Negative? Oh, God. Why bother looking at things if you don't have a memory? Oh, I can... Oh, I forgot about the little preview thing here. All right, so negative Y is upper, positive Y is lower. Okay, negative Y. No, it's div equals door dot div dot upper. That's what I said. All right, that's it. That's it for that. That's easy. So now we just... Well, that's for the triple door, I guess. Else if the door is double... I guess we make this a straight switch statement. Yeah, basically the idea is you are a wizard whose village has been annihilated by monsters. The goal of the game is to flee to safety, recruiting survivors along the way. Oh, that sounds awesome. kind of want to put this in the opposite order. All right, so now we just do this on the other side, but for the X blocks. So we just swap any reference to Y with X here. Otherwise, this should be exactly the same. This is gross, but it will work for now. I guess we don't need to do the bitwise comparison. Actually, a logical comparison in this case is better. Okay, cool. That should be that as far as the refactor here. So we've broken out the layer types. We've given them each their own function here out of this monster. And we've determined all their hull and their layer data, what I'm calling their layer data. The data specific to their layer, I guess. And then we're going to need to do the cutaway pass. And then lastly, we will do... the cutaway pass we can have that be kind of aware, like layer aware, not layer aware, but buffer aware. As far as we can be like, what kind of buffer is it? We treat that differently. All right, cool. Well, I've gone way over time for me because I started late. But we were in the groove and I like to wrap stuff up, so that's all right. But I think we got to wrap it up here for today. I will be back tomorrow. It might be a little late. We might start a little late. But we'll be doing it. We'll be doing the thing. Hopefully we can finish this refactor and introduce the second layers. Not layers, block buffers. We can have our separate block buffers running in the auto tiler together to render to the same tile map layers. Yeah, this was awesome. Let's find someone to raid, I guess, because there's a decent number of people here. Love to pay it forward. See who on the team is up. I really gotta run. We might not actually have time to raid, but let's see who's live. All right, nobody is standing out to me. Looks great, thanks. So yeah, I think I actually just need to wrap it up and go. I'm like 30 minutes behind schedule here. And it's Friday, and I really just want to be done with work and go to the weekend. So I think I'm just gonna call it. I think we're just gonna run away. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. So if I don't see you, I hope you have a great weekend. Yeah. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Maximum warp.
Maximum warp. Thanks, but in a second.